In this video, I really want to talk about 3 areas that always seem to hold bass. No matter where you go in the country, no matter what time of the year it is, it always seems like these 3 specific spots always have some bass in them. Now, before we get to those locations, this video is brought to you by Omnia Fishing. Really special announcement. Right now over at Omnia, if you download their Pro subscription, which typically costs $49 for the entire year, you're actually going to get a $50 gift card in return. So not only can you get all of the different benefits of the Pro subscription, like having high definition lake maps for over 44,000 lakes across America, being able to put layers on those maps, getting 10% cash back and free shipping on all your tackle, but also you are now going to get a $50 gift card to actually buy some tackle. So anyways, it's really easy to do this, but you have to do it through a web browser. You can't do it on the Omnia app. So click the link down below in the description, use the coupon code BassFishingHQ, and you will get a $50 gift card when you purchase the Pro membership. So really cool deal. It's only kind of specific to Tyler Berger and Bass Fishing HQ subscribers. So anyways, click that link down below. Check it out. All right, let's talk about these 3 locations. Now, like I said, I've been to a number of places across the country, and it always seems like if you can find one of these 3 locations, there's going to be bass somewhere around. Now, the first one is a marina. Marinas always tend to hold bass, no matter where I've gone in the country. I mean, I have fished marinas up in New York. I have fished marinas in the South. Marinas are a great place to find bass. Now, one of the biggest reasons for this is that marinas typically are protected. You know, if there's an area that has a lot of boats in them, they typically build either big jetties or have some sort of wind protection in these marinas. And so therefore, marinas create really stable spawning grounds for bass. Not to mention, there's typically a lot of riprap, concrete, a lot of hard bottom in marina type areas. So therefore, you have a great spawning area for bass. Not only all that, but you also have a lot of shade. You typically have a lot of oxygen. Water will even stay a little bit cooler sometimes in a marina just because there is so much shade. So therefore, no matter where you go in the country, if you are struggling to catch a bass, I highly suggest trying to find a marina because there's almost always a population of bass that is going to live in that marina. And as we know from so many bass fishing studies out there, the majority of bass don't move a whole lot. And so therefore, if they are born in a marina, they are going to swim around that marina. Sure, some of them are going to venture out into deeper, structure or cover or other places across the lake, but it always seems like there's fish in a marina. The other thing about marinas is typically they have boat ramps, and sometimes those boat ramps are used by tournaments. And so therefore, if a tournament is going out of a boat ramp with a marina, they're bringing fish back constantly to that area. Those are going to be fish that are might just stay in that area because they have everything that they need. So anytime I cannot catch a fish, I always check out marinas. Now, the second place you can almost always find a bass is where you have a mixture of cover. This is super critical in my opinion. Anytime you have 2 or 3 different types of cover that mix together in an area, that seems to be a hot spot for bass. Now, this can be a number of different things. And look, I'm not saying that, for example, if you have a large grass flat, that whole grass flat may contain bass in it, and you may be able to catch bass in it. But if you have an area where it's a large grass flat, but within that large grass flat, you either have like a harder bottom, maybe it is rock, maybe there's some boulders mixed in with that grass, or maybe it's a shell bed on the bottom with that grass. When you have a mixture, a combination of 2 different types of cover, that is a hot spot for a bass. And it's not just grass and hard bottom. This can also be I love to find docks that also have grass close by. That is one of my favorite things to do, is find docks with grass. If you have docks with floating, you know, vegetation, docks with lily pads, whatever it may be. I'm telling you, that is a great prime location to find bass. And so anytime you get to a body of water, to me, this is not always something that I purposefully look for, unless I'm up in the north. If I'm up in the northern part of the country, there's almost grass in a lot of the lakes. And so to kind of really narrow down the grass that you're fishing, a lot of times I like to idle around until I can either find boulders or see rock, something along the bottom that is just a little bit different. But it's not always something that you like visibly just go out and see. But a lot of times while you're fishing, you will just run into these areas where like, man, there's a mixture of here's a rock transition with a laydown, or here is grass with a laydown inside the grass. There's a number of different things, but anywhere you have a combination of different types of cover, it is just a hot spot for bass. I'm telling you, it is a great place to slow down, really pick apart, because you will find bass in these areas. Now, the next thing, and this to me is, I don't know exactly why. I mean, there's a number of reasons why, but anytime you have a creek channel that is close to an area that you're fishing, whether it's the bank, whether it is an offshore piece of structure like a hump or a point or a ridge, anytime you have a creek channel or a river channel that hits up against that particular zone is a hot spot for bass. And this is, again, this is a year-round thing. Anytime that I go to a lake, and say, like, I fished a lot of lakes in the country that they are just littered with like main lake points. Like there's literally like 1,000 main lake points on a particular body of water. And so bass can be on each and every single one of them. But a lot of times if you look at a lake map, you will see that there are certain points where that creek channel swings either really close to or at times even touches the point. Those can really be dynamite areas. And so if you have a creek channel that hits up against a piece of structure, it is almost always, I think, a zone where bass live. I think that the reason that bass get there, there's so many reasons. One, if you have a creek channel, that means that when that lake has current kind of running through it, that creek channel is going to have a little bit more current than even the rest of the lake. And so what it does is that creek channel pushes current up against that piece of structure, and that does two things. One, where the current is hitting the structure, a lot of times it is going to completely get rid of any kind of like softer bottom. So you will have really hard bottom areas in this area, whether that's rock or sometimes this is shell. You will find a lot of your best places across the country have small shell beds, and the reason that those shell beds are there, you have current hitting up against a piece of structure. Now that shell is going to, and that hard bottom is going to attract bait fish. Also, bait fish will come with the current. It also gives a bass a premium area to feed. And so anytime you are at a body of water and you are struggling to catch bass, look for where creek channels hit some sort of piece of structure. I've fished so many tournaments in my life where this was the deal. You had to find a point, you had to find a hump where that creek channel hit. So those three areas, I think, are some of the best areas in every lake, river, even ponds. If, you know, not all ponds are gonna have, you know, creek channels running through them. Definitely not all ponds are gonna have marinas. But with that being said, in a pond, you're gonna have mixtures of cover, and those can be really prime areas. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys tomorrow.